The system, which each year moves more than 1 billion people under the streets of the capital, has also been a location for James Bond films. It's reportedly where Sting and Sir Paul McCartney used to busk in disguise and has become part of London's identity.
This is where the real history of the Tube begins. The oldest underground railway was built here on the 10th of January 1863, joining Paddington to Farringdon along the Metropolitan line. 150 years later, I retraced the steps. It's like going back in time.
While automated ticketing saves time, back in World War II, the Tube saved lives. That's when these underground stations served as bomb shelters to hundreds of thousands of Londoners. 70 years on, passengers still keep that British reserve, so it's not quite as social as a Joburg taxi. But you can't have everything.
Now that I've experienced the Tube firsthand, I understand why London has a museum dedicated to its iconic, world-famous transport system.
This metropolis was at the heart of the Industrial Revolution, so it was also where mechanized public transport came of age. Anna Renton has made a career studying it all.
Hi, Anna.
Oh, hi,
I'm on time. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
You came by public transport, I guess.
Well, London transport is world class, but how busy is this museum?
I know. Well, lots of people like to come and see all of London's icons. I mean, we have the Black London taxi, we have the red bus, we have like the Roundel logo, and obviously we have the Underground as well.
That's what I want to know about the Tube.
Okay, let me take you.
Cool.
Because the Tube runs as far as 58 meters below the ground, it needed an entirely separate class of engines and coaches to be developed.
So we won't be needing these today?
Well, not today, no.
This is so exciting to see the evolution of the Tube, and this isn't even the first one.
No, this one's from 1923. The actual first underground train ran in 1863. So that was a steam train which went from Paddington to Farringdon, and that kind of would have looked pretty normal to people, kind of normal looking steam train with a normal looking carriages. And then over time, with you know, sort of developments in technology, eventually it became possible to tunnel much deeper underground. And so the first line that could go deep underground was the City and South London line, which ran from Stockwell into the city. And on there, the very first carriages there were actually really much more enclosed than this. They were much smaller because the tunnels were much smaller, and they didn't even have any windows. They were nicknamed padded cells, and people would sit in there, and they would just be told by a guard at the end of the train which station they were at. But that would make people quite cross sometimes, because maybe they wouldn't hear him, or maybe he would say the wrong name or something like that. And also people kind of suffer from motion sickness and things like that as well. So it wasn't too long before windows were put into the carriages.
And how are you celebrating the 150-year anniversary?
Well, we've got loads going on, and one of the things that we were able to do in January was to recreate that first steam run. We restored a steam train, brought it back to life, restored a carriage as well, and people were able to travel on the carriage and watch it from the platform as well. So it's really exciting.
British lovers of steam trains often come to South Africa to ride our classics. London Mayor Boris Johnson was proud they'd got one of their own running again for this historic occasion.
It was wonderful, and I really congratulate TfL and Peter Hendy, everybody who thought this up. I think it's taken a lot of energy to overcome all the health and safety problems, all the kind of objections, and put a proper old-fashioned, proper London Underground steam train on London Underground again.
While the Brits do history better than most, the mayor was looking forward too.
What will London be like in 150 years' time? That's the question we're posing today. That was 120 years ago. That's today. What's it going to be like in 150 years' time?
Advertising was always central to getting the Tube's message across to Londoners, and here's how they do it.
Right, so this is Poster Art 150, which is our major exhibition for this year. So it's showing the 150 greatest underground posters as chosen by a panel of experts.
So all the posters are to advertise the underground system, correct?
Yeah, that's right, they are, but they're all doing quite different things. So some of them were the very very early ones from 1908, for example, were to really kind of encourage people to use the new electric trains, which might have been quite daunting for them. So it makes it look safe and clean and welcoming. Whereas later ones might be encouraging you to go out to the countryside or to use the underground to go to the theatre or to sporting events. So they really did all sorts of different things to try to encourage people to use the underground.
So who are the artists behind the posters?
Well, all sorts of different people, really. I mean, the real heyday was in the 1920s and 30s. So artists like Edward McKnight Kauffer really made his name as the poster king by designing posters for the underground. But then there were also up-and-coming designers as well, like graphic design students who got their first big break with the underground and really made their careers.
So after seeing 150 posters, I'm guessing you guys need a number one. How does the public vote?
Well, you can do it in 3 different ways. So by using the Siemens poster vote, you can vote in the exhibition, you can vote using a smartphone, or you can vote online at our website, ltmuseum.co.uk.
Hannah, thank you so much for a wonderful day. I saw a tube simulator that I want to try out upstairs.
That's good.
Even in the midst of a global economic slowdown, there are still around 19,000 people working on the London Underground. So these are very employable skills.
Stand clear of the closing doors. Here we go. Right, I'm taking you guys back to Paddington Station.
With over 400 kilometers of track and tunnel to get lost in, Bonang did us very proud, and at a civilized speed of 33 kilometers an hour, delivered her commuters to work on time and in good order. Though she did pull up a little short of the Paddington platform.
And we're here, safe and sound, although the back carriages can't open their doors because I'm parked like halfway at the station. But anyway, I'm not a train driver. Welcome to Paddington Station, safe and sound. Here's to wishing the London Underground another successful 150 years.